Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the final mock draft for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2024 NFL offseason. It is a full 7-round mock draft, so we will go over all of the selections. But before we do that, if you haven't already, like this video and also subscribe to the Tracy Take to get notified when new videos come out. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the NFL draft, which is just a week away. We are about 80 subscribers short of reaching that goal as of the recording of this video. So any help is greatly appreciated. So like and subscribe and help us reach our goal. Ryan, let's pull up the first slide here. Kansas City, I think then too, just in general, before everything that's happened over the past couple of weeks with the Dallas, Texas, Chiefs, I think we're going to go receiver anyways. It's very possible maybe they go offensive line, but I think also too with the things going on with Rashee Rice as well. I think they need to go get another receiver now anyways. Potentially could even trade up to try and go get maybe A.D. Mitchell or Brian Thomas Jr., maybe someone who is a little bit more widely considered first-round talent. Not saying Ladd McConkey is not, but I can see some people not thinking he's a first-round talent. But I love Ladd McConkey in this system, how easy it is for him to get open. I think him and Patrick Mahomes would be a great pairing just with, well, obviously Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but how he can manipulate the ball, get guys open, improvise. I think Ladd McConkey and his just elusiveness would fit perfectly well with going up against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and to me, I think you look at what Ladd McConkey brings to the table. There are a few concerns about his ability to stay on the field. He did struggle with some injuries at Georgia this past season, but when he's on the field, he is extremely difficult to guard. And I just you partner that up with Patrick Mahomes. He throws guys open better than anybody in the league currently, and I think him and Ladd McConkey would be a very scary duo. And then Ladd McConkey, just as a prospect, very few guys run routes as well as Ladd McConkey. Outside of that top three, I think nobody, like maybe you have Ricky Pearsall, Roman Wilson isn't even on that level, but Ladd McConkey is probably the best true separator outside of those top three. And then I think with his positional versatility and where you can move around the formation, he can line up in multiple spots because he is, I believe, 6'1", 185. So he has the size. He can play on the outside. Not going to be where he's going to live, especially at 185 pounds. But he can play in the slot. He can play that Z spot, which is probably where that happy medium for him. And so I really like this fit. Maybe with the news with Rashee Rice, we'll have to see what criminal charges are brought up against him. But I know right now he's being sued for millions of dollars. Probably will be suspended for a portion of the season by the NFL. And so maybe they look to get a more somebody with more size, maybe like a Keon Coleman, who I think could fit into a Rashee Rice-esque role. But all in all, I think if the Chiefs come away with Ladd McConkey after day one, I think that they would be pretty happy with that. So,
I would think so. And even then, too, just going back to his route running capabilities, is just with how precise Patrick Mahomes is with his throws and shoot, even the play that they won the Super Bowl with. I could see that goal line play and how great
for sure
Ladd McConkey is. I could see them just drawing up just simple plays like that for Ladd, just they just get the leverage, and Mahomes just knows this is an easy 5 yards, and then maybe Ladd McConkey could break it for a little bit longer. So let's move on now to their second round pick. So they did end up losing trading L'Jarius Sneed. They lost the relationship, I would say. But Kamari Lassiter, though, sitting here at 64, just in that cornerback spot. Kamari Lassiter, I think he can be anywhere from the high 30s, I would say. I'd say this is probably about the floor. He maybe could sneak into the third round. If he does, I don't think he's getting past Carolina or Arizona or some of those other teams. So I think this is kind of the floor of where I think he can go. So he ended up falling a little bit in our draft. But good corner out of Georgia. I think he has a high ceiling. A couple things you have to work on in the development, but at the same time, you're a rookie going in the NFL who is developing. So I think he's a good talent that can come in and provide some day one reps here. After the second round pick.
Yeah, and I like him as a prospect. I think getting him in the second round is good value. He's going to fall because he's not the highest end of athletes. Especially you look at Quinion Mitchell, Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, those guys that are going in the first round. They have a very similar skill set to Kamari Lassiter. They're all just better athletes than he is, and that's why he kind of falls down here into this spot. But let's move on now to their third round pick. So they have pick 95, and George Karlaftis had a good year, but Charles Omenihu did he tear his Achilles or tear his ACL? ACL. Tore his ACL in one of the playoff games, and so
the AFC Championship.
Yeah, and he's probably going to miss a significant portion of this season. Also, coming back from an injury like that, it's going to be like a long road. So, going with Gabriel Murphy here, he's the kind of played second fiddle to Laiatu Latu out at UCLA, but a lot of similar traits, in my opinion. He's not a great athlete, but not a poor athlete. He's more of a polished pass rusher than overwhelming guys with just like raw athleticism, kind of like Chop Robinson does. And so I like the fit here. He can be a hand in the dirt defensive end. He can also line up and be an outside linebacker if they want to go with that style of scheme. Steve Spagnuolo would be able to scheme him up in a lot of different ways. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think also too as well, it as you kind of mentioned, it's just addressing that defensive side of the ball as well, because what got them what got them Super Bowl last year was their overall defensive performance. So just making sure that they stay as young as possible, get energetic guys for that Spagnuolo defense. So in general though, so it went receiver, corner, edge, and the first three picks. We'll say one potential spot they maybe could go offensive line here, but no, we do have them addressing the offensive line here in the day three picks. But going to start off, though, addressing the receiver position also with Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint out of Georgia. We had them a couple of Georgia players here going to Kansas City, but just another receiver here as well, kind of as we've already mentioned. But good guy. He had a pretty good Senior Bowl as well. Maybe can find a little diamond in the rough here in day three.
Yeah, and then here in the fifth round, Adefuan Ulo-Foshio. I noticed you let me take that one.
Yeah, most definitely.
But linebacker. And then, honestly, one of my favorite picks, not just because of his last name, but this is a guy that I think Tyron Tracy, for the running back from Purdue, former wide receiver that made the transition to running back. I think he adds Isaiah Pacheco can be a receiver out of the backfield. That's not his strong suit. He is much more of a downfield runner. They did re-sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but to put it nicely, we all kind of know how they feel about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the amount of touches that they give him. So going and getting a guy that can be a true third down back, he's decent in pass protection as well. And so getting him here in the back end of the fifth round is nice. And then just a depth piece, Julian Pearl, the offensive tackle from Illinois, maybe could potentially get some meaningful snaps later in the year if he can continue to develop. But again, just more of a depth piece there. All in all, for the Chiefs, they only have 7 picks, 3 and then 4, right? But 2 fifth rounders. Yeah. So not a ton of picks. They didn't make, with a team as much cap space as they had, they didn't make a ton of moves in the offseason period. Their main move was really re-signing Chris Jones. And so kind of hoping that they would have done more. But with this draft, I think they get a pass catcher, add another edge rusher there as well. Just get some solid pieces that are going to help this team potentially go for another Super Bowl. Honestly, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, they will be contending for Super Bowls.
Well, and I'll say one reason they probably didn't make too many moves is their biggest thing. A lot of times, like the big, there's a lot of free agents, and like I think it was the Colts. Like their main thing they did their whole offseason was just re-sign like their key players. Like that's pretty much the majority of their cap space. You look at this Chiefs team, this Chiefs defense, a lot of those guys are still in their rookie contracts or a few of them were. The only main guy that needed a contract extension or to re-sign was Chris Jones. Anybody else is easily replaceable.
And then they did tag L'Jarius Sneed, but he's no longer on the team, so his cap number is not a factor anymore.
Yeah. But and then on the offensive side of the ball, any of the receivers that were there are replaceable. So I think a lot of it was re-signing him, and then they know how good this receiver class is, just with scouting all throughout the season, and then just now even more film review on this class. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a couple of receivers here. I know we took one in the first round, one in the fourth. Maybe they add on another one, or maybe add on a tight end. But I think they can rebuild that room, and it's crazy to think that they will still just keep getting younger. It seems like
Yeah.
on their overall roster average.
Yeah, no, and so that to me, this is going to be a tough team to beat for a very, very long time. And they do need, to me, they do need to refresh that wide receiver, and that's probably the biggest need on this team. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of this Kansas City Chiefs 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently than that? We'll see you guys next time.